Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the next part of the Bang Shishigami project, where if you know from the last couple times, detailed out the gauntlet on the one side, getting down to the right hand, finally kind of blocked out the right hand, blocked out the right gauntlet. At least we're feeling a little more balanced now than we were before. Our right hand is still very small. And I was saying then the last time I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the jacket part next or the gauntlet part, because I can really do either, because this is now 100% removable. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get this gauntlet finished out, harden this gauntlet, bring it back in, and then we can do the jacket stuff and the sleeves and all that before hardening the rest of that together. Rationale for that is if we come back to this guy here, you can see on the side has that kind of cutout down in where the gauntlet is. I can cut that, I can bring that down here, cut that out of this. I can hollow out the back of the gauntlet here just a little bit. And then when I harden that, I can then have the sleeve come up into the bottom of the gauntlet a little bit, stick out a little bit of that opening that's in the bottom, and that's going to anchor this in place so that, you see, if we're on here, it's not going to be twisty like that. That little bit there can help anchor it all. But I would need the gauntlet done first and hardened before I can do that. As for this solid disc that kind of goes on the front of everything, we have that one piece that's going to come on front here. What I'm thinking I'm going to do on that is I'll detail out the whole bottom part. I can do this ring, keep that on, and then those side pieces that are on it, if I take, come off, equivalency of this on the side, I can run a wire down behind, or actually in the clay on the two sides that stick out on this side, and have just a little bit of the wire stick out on the end there. Then I can later on take the disc, I can then harden that as part of the gauntlet, and I can just make a separate disc piece with a couple little kind of holes on the side to receive the wire, and I can just have that be its own separate piece in the end. And that should account for, I should be able to paint around all that stuff. That should give me fine. As we can see on the side, on this image here, it looks like the wires themselves are coming up on the back edge of his gauntlet. But when we come back to this guy, it's actually more kind of top and bottom. So even if I have that coming out, it's going to be generally the same as this hand, and I can paint around that without an issue. So I can keep those attached, and we'll be fine. So goal today is get as much of this gauntlet done. If we get substantially complete by the end, then what I can do after that is I can, again, if there are any like just little tweak things, I can tweak those out after the fact, or after the session, and harden this outside of the session. Or if it's enough that it's worth coming back and doing it on camera, I can do that on camera. But at the same time, we generally saw the details going out. Yes, you missed a little bit, but you generally saw all the details going out on this one. And anything actually you did miss is what is going to be going on in this session. So first things first, I didn't actually have to do anything below this line here. And my goal this time also, I have a secondary goal, and that's going to be to try to do as much of this stuff on camera as possible, because I was doing at least a little bit of reviewing things from the last session, and I was really bad at keeping things on camera last session. So, sorry about that. Sometimes it just doesn't work. I try, but sometimes it just doesn't work. You know what? Having you here might be nice if I'm trying to show myself detailing this part out. Alright, so we have And just like the very first time I did this, we are not even close to straight in here. So that's cool. Let's see here. So that's one side. That's one side. I can put a little mark there. I can put a little mark there. That means my center is something like this. And that gets us kind of to center. I can look at that. That's kind of about the size I'm looking for. Yeah, I think part of it is I just tilt the camera down just a little too far, and I keep forgetting it's tilted down like that when it shouldn't be. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to carve this out here. When I go and carve out the rest of this, that'll be a separate kind of process or project or whatever. But I'm going to make this gauntlet detail stuff first, and then I'll go and I'll actually do the real carving behind this. So I want a little bit of that, and that is all good. I don't know why I'm smoothing this out. It's going to be changed in the end anyway. And keep that stuff flat. Okay, get out of there. Yes, now you come in here, and that gets its nice little thing. And actually, if I want this to match the other one, I realize I did this slightly wrong before, but we're going to actually match what we have on the other side, and that's when we're going to put a little bit of an elevation change in the middle of this. And once again, I can't get centered on anything. I'm not worried about this front edge because that's going to be hidden. So how things resolve themselves near the hand itself doesn't really matter. And actually, that's not going to be too far off in the distant future. We're going to deal with that. I still will pull a little bit off. We still don't need it to look bad until that point, but we can make it work. Okay, where's my normal one? Alright, so we have that. Now I'll go and I'll do my line going right down this guy. Kind of fold it in a little bit so it looks like it's kind of folded out just a little. Pop you back in. And re-smooth that one part because I done messed up. Okay. So have that, have that. Next big thing we need to do is, again, as I had shown before, if we take, not that one, if we take you, this, and if I were to take this guy back, you can see there are multiple ways we're going about doing these. So I'm going to have, I'm pointing at things again. So I'm going to have, again, both gauntlets match each other on this. So the design that goes on the one, I'm going to stick back on the other. This, it feels skinnier a little bit. So let's see, how about take you, I wasn't sure exactly how thick it was, but I'm going to just add a little bit to the top of this on camera. It's just about to do it off camera again because I am just that good. And it really just needs to go on the top of this. Yeah, so last session went off on gigantic tangent of other stuff. I don't even know if I talked anything about model stuff at that one, but we're gonna see if we can get this one a little more on point for anybody new who might be watching, or anybody who wants to know what's going on. Maybe I can actually talk about what I'm doing. So now I need to make the snow cone kind of element. So I can either look at my computer screen, or if I do it's, let's see, is there a way to keep him off the ground that works? I don't have any really good ways of going about keeping you off the ground. Unless... Oh. Oh. No. I have no ways of keeping that up. I was just hoping to keep that there so I have something to look at. But I can always use the image I have on the screen like I'm kind of supposed to. And we kind of come up. And once again, I'm going... We come down about how far? So from the top to the bottom is about that. It's going to be about that. I can just see the little bit of a dot at the base. We want that to go straight. We want that to go straight. And here we have our little ice cream cone looking thing. So just like if I'm chiseling like a doorknob or something at work, or latches or whatnot, I cut the edges first so I have a good straight side to go down into. And for that I would get a chisel and kind of chisel out the middle, but here we can just now take that nice piece we just cut, and we can use the knife to then slice in the middle of it to take out that. And then realize you don't go deep enough to have it look like anything, and we go and do it again. I'm hitting something solid in here, so that's awesome. I've never really cleaned up my workspace, so anytime I kind of get stuff on the side, like when I was kind of cleaning out the top of the, let's say, kind of the joint area in here, whatnot, and kind of little solid pieces come out, I just kind of brush it off to the side. I've never really done a good cleanup of things. So every now and again, I do get some things that wind up in here that I really don't want to, but it's there, and it just is. So we just deal with that. It's fine. I can feel there's a little piece somewhere in here, but it'll be fine. Today has not gone anywhere near like what I anticipated it was going to. And that the whole plan was I was going to wake up early, take the bike out, and do this big distance ride. And then the thunderstorms kind of came in. It's like, okay, the forecast says they're just gonna hang out here for like an hour or so, go away, and the afternoon's gonna be fine. It's gonna get warmer, but the afternoon's gonna be fine to do stuff. And the rain stuff never really went away. They're still calling for like chance of thunderstorms throughout like decent chunk of the rest of the day, and it's just not helping. So I figured at this point it's probably safe to go for a run or something. I think the thunder stuff is past, and I can, if it rains, I can go for a run. I can do my half marathon run. But at the same time, once I do that, my body is kind of done for the day. So I'm making the executive decision right now. That piece is too big. So I'm just doing this recording session first, and then it's going to be a little warmer outside. I realize that, but I'm going to go for the run after that. And then if I'm tired the rest of the day, I don't feel like doing anything, that's fine. At that point, at least I have this session in. It's done. It's over. We're functional for this, and I am okay with that. All right, so we have that little piece, which does kind of look like that one. So now we get to make our little snake thingies again. We got some lines to put on. And let's see if we can do these small enough this time. Because last time in the session that you missed, because it was gone to time, I had to redo the lines I'd done the previous time because they were too thick. They just felt really big compared to what they're supposed to be. Okay, now I do want this long enough. I'm just kind of getting a visual off of this, and that doesn't seem like it's too bad. And we go, we take that, we bring it down, and just kind of lightly bop it in. Get to the end and done. Next. Next is going to be same deal. Come from the other side. Bring it in. Light little pack down. Just enough to kind of hold it, not enough to squish it into to really kind of force it in here. But that one's in. Next, there's one that goes along the side of it, which I could have done previously. I don't know why I go symmetrical the whole way. I know the end result is symmetrical, but why I'm doing it in such a way. But we have that. It goes in, it comes down. Zip you. Get those out of the way, and the last one. Yeah, this part's the easy part. It's going to probably slow down a little bit. We'll have to kind of beef out the hand itself and get that working. But we still have a little bit of time before we get to that phase. Oop, I made it squiggly in a bad way. Okay, so if I want to do this, I got to do it kind of roll it by finger, because the finger is a little bit fatter, so I can move more of this at a time than I can do with an actual tool. And there we have it. We now have you coming in. Okay. So if we want to get the next phase, and actually before I do the hand, I think I'm going to stick this big old piece in here next. Because if I try to do things on the back of the hand and then push that in, I'm going to be pushing in more than I want. So we need to slide you out of the way. Set this guy back to as wide as it will go. It's back to 7 again. We need that. I need you over here. Oh, let's get my box down. I just do a couple rolls. It's alright. Now we want you to stay somewhat straight. Okay, got that. Ooh, got that to size. How wide is this thing? What did I do last time? And again, we can use our little things here. So we're about 1/4 inch wide. About 1/4 inch wide. We can do that. Take you out. I can stick you on here. I can say maybe just a hair more than a 1/4 inch, maybe just a hair more than a 1/4 inch. Let's get a longer straight edge this time. Oop, go from there to there. Maybe we didn't want the hair more than a 1/4 inch. Although, half of this, skinny half actually works. You couldn't see me measuring up against that, but skinny half of that actually is okay. I just made the other half a little thick, that's all. I didn't cut it straight. Oh yeah, I can see that is well more. This side was actually good, and you were literally just a hair over. So let's try that again. Let's fail. I need to go to there. So first things first, get that straight. We're doing a something to nothing cut. I think I still failed it. This shouldn't be the hard part. Ever it is one of those days. Yep. We're having it. Okay. So if we have that, at least now it becomes a little bit easier because now I can just trace. Make sure we line up our edge. Kind of important. Just do that. And this kind of became the basis for the width of this guy. I did add one more skinny layer on top of it after the fact, which I'm going to construct this the same way I constructed the other one. And then this end comes down around. And our question is, from back to front, does that kind of match up? Yeah, it kind of does. Yes, it kind of does. So that's about as far up as we need to go. So we're in there. As is usual, cut off the excess. Okay, I didn't put the bottom exactly same place, but we're going to smooth this out right now. And in theory, we're not going to see this seam ever. So let me get that out of the way. Okay, and kind of when pressing this stuff down, this was a little skinnier than the other, but if I'm pressing things down for kind of smoothing out and whatnot, it will very likely pack out to what I want it to be. But we need to make this feel like a single piece of metal. So that means, yes, we made it out of a couple different layers. No, we can't let it stay looking like a couple different layers. We need to make it look like it was done out of one piece. And how are we doing on time? We're doing very good on time. Yeah, this is definitely going by, like I said, the good thing is if I was going to have an episode or a session just vanish into thin air, it was probably one of the best ones in this whole thing to have that happen with, to be honest. Because I spent more time problem solving stuff, it felt like, than actually doing things. So as a visual medium kind of thing, that was probably the right one to have things happen to. Because this is going by much, much faster right now. Okay, so we have that in. How are we looking at the moment? So at the moment he's starting to get a little more balanced. Again, the next section is what's actually really going to make this thing feel more balanced. And that's going to help a lot. Let's see, so what do we do next? So next, again, it looks like if we turn you off, I'm on this, looks like if I bring you back, it's kind of, I'm pointing with my pointer on the computer, like that helps. But it looks like the back and the side part is slightly skinnier than it was on the previous. It is definitely rendered differently here than it was on that. You can see those side pieces. Yeah, what I'm looking at are these guys here, this end part and that where it comes down. So if we have on the left hand, the one we've done looks like this. However, if we slide it over, it looks like it's rendered differently in this image. However, if we come back to you, and if I can't really see it on my preview, but I have a larger image on the side here that I'm going off of. This is a little bit of inception going on. This still feels like it's kind of rendered the same way as on the other arm. So I'm just going to make this the same as the other arm, and I'm just going to treat this end piece that goes on, that big bump out on the side, the poof that goes in front. I'm going to treat that as like an add-on piece he can either attach or unattach as he sees fit, depending on the situation he's going in. So I'm going to render kind of both gauntlets generally the same, and then just change that one detail up, and all will be good. Okay, so to do that detail, I have the same thing. I made it the same size, so I don't need to worry about that anymore. I can just fold you over. Bam, we now have the same size. Done. And we need to cut one of these guys out. And I'm not 100% sure on how big this duder is. I shouldn't call things duder. That comes Nakatelili, I think. It's another... I know he used to do streaming stuff on Twitch. I think now he's just a YouTube channel, though I could be wrong on that. But yeah, no, I know I've had that discussion before, and we have different vernacular, but yeah, duder is another one of those ones that's kind of gotten stuck, and that came from him. Okay, so we're gonna just make it the same size. So that's our height. And realistically, I just cut the piece in half, so dumb luck me, got something to work out just as I want it to. And if we take you this way, I can see you are approximately that wide. Just stick you there right now, which ironically is also right in half that way. We call that pretty dang good planning. That 100% wasn't dumb luck, that it just worked out 100% perfectly just like that. I'm just a master at what I do. Yeah, I know. It takes 14,000 hours to become a master. Yeah, nope, I did it the quick way. Which again, that sounds like a super long time. Like I said, I've heard that number thrown out. It takes around 14,000 hours to become a master or something. But in essence, again, if you have like a 9 to 5 job thing, that's just 7 years. Approximately 7 years of doing something to kind of say that you were adequately proficient to become master. May or may not be true, but it's just fun saying it that way. Okay, so we want him, so his arm is actually twisted up just a little bit. Why do you look like you're thicker? You're not. Yeah, so the good thing is his arm is actually twisted, so this isn't going to get wedged into actually his forearm or anything. So that's going to be great. And I'm keeping the arm attached while I do this, so just so I have something to kind of push down onto to get it to actually stick. Now I'm going to do this next part in really 2 different segments. I'm going to have the one piece that kind of comes down in the middle of everything, and then I'll have the one that comes up separate. I'll blend them together so they look the same in the end, but they're going to be treated separately, or as pretty much as 2 different elements. You were just a hair short, but again, you're clay, and we can do stuff with clay in that dimension. Clay is awesome that way. Again, all I did was the width of that was the same thing. So I can have that. We're going to start here, kind of start there. And realistically, I can basically just cut you in half. And all this is going to be pretty okay. I think more than anything, this is going to be the element that's going to make it feel like it buffs out and beefs up kind of the arm quite a bit. Even more so when it goes up and over, because right now it's just a straight line. It will actually have more mass as it goes over the edge or over the top. But that part is going to have to come back after a little while, because we need to make sure the hand is right before I get to that, because now the hand is going to get more kind of little detail-y things going on. But first, we need you to match up. I want to blend some things. I also want to make sure you come back off, because I've been doing a lot of stuff in place. Let's make sure you can still do that. Although I do need to be a little more careful now of what I'm holding onto on this. I don't really need to blend this side because it's going to be covered, but let's just cover all my bases for now. While it's easy to blend, let's do it. What time are we at? We're at that point, so I'm probably not going to get to substantial completion for hardening this time. So I get to debate what I want to do next time. Because what I could do is I could finish this. I know I still have a lot of time left on this. I still have like 25 minutes to go. But if I don't get this thing 100% done, I could always finish it at the start of the next session. Start doing the jacket, say, on the other arm kind of going through, and not have it come up to this gauntlet yet. And then the one after that, I can go and kind of finish the jacket up to this side. But otherwise, no, we're at least getting somewhere. Oh, it would be easier to paint the hands if I don't have a thing coming up over this way, wouldn't it? Alright, well, gonna have to make a decision kinda soon on that front. Yeah, we want to join this on this dimension as well. We also want to make this feel like it's nice and straight and level and all of that. Okay, so as before, wow, I looked up and I'm not centered on camera, but I am on camera, so I feel like I'm living up slightly more to the expectation that I was feeling. I feel like there's so much putting things on the model, taking it off, put it on, taking it off, that it's so hard to just keep this thing on camera like it's supposed to be. It just feels so hard. Okay, so we have a piece in there. Let's do the same to this side. We're getting you in, getting you in. The spade bit is definitely better than that straight pointing one in terms of actually getting these guys to look right and kind of making these channels. The other one's good at scoring stuff, but this guy's better at actually making the channels that go in. And okay, so we have that, and the hand technically isn't looking terrible. Now we do have some lines to do on this. I have some lines to fix up on the other hand as well. But they kind of go up, down, and back. You can see it more on this side. It kind of goes up, down, and back. I'm not sure I agree with that design, but it's what I've seen at least on one of those guys. So we're just going to do it. And we're going to trust that this is all going to look good in the end. Or I can always change it at the last minute. It's clay. If I really don't like something, I don't really have to have it. It's my model. Like I said, I'm doing things that are based off the character, but if it's not 100% the same as on the character, it's gonna be fine. As we've already seen, the gauntlets are different on every single version of the character you look at. So there is room for doing your own thing if you don't agree with how something actually looks. I guess that's kind of my view on like the historic restoration and stuff of the houses and projects and stuff we work on, because again, we do have historical things in our area, and it is appreciative to keep things, as much as you like to have things that stay 100% the same as when they first went in. That's not always possible. Again, at the same time, you need to be able to live where you are. So I agree that you want to keep the character and stuff of maybe the originals, but in my mind, buildings, you got to be able to kind of, they're living, breathing kind of things. They can change, they do have the ability to change over time. Yes, you can keep the character, but at least make them functional for whoever wants to live there. They're not just pieces of art. Which I'm not about to go out and just like go demolish stuff and put in brand new things just because. But it's the same as these kind of models. You look at the drawings, like I said, every drawing is going to have or highlight a certain different thing. The one I based like his core things off of, he had a wider core than he had on the image. On the image, you can see here, because here it wanted to show his dynamic ability. In order to do that, he had to be thinner to show that. The other image wanted to show that he was a good, strong character, so it had to use a more kind of stoic pose, and had to show him being stronger because of that. So depending what you want to show, what you want to highlight, things will change. And like I said, if I ultimately don't like this detail, if after I kind of finish all this stuff, put it all together, and I realize, you know what, we're just going to change that. That to me is 100% fine. Ideally, I wouldn't have to do that kind of thing, but at the same time, if it does kind of come up, I'm not super opposed to that being a thing. Because the other idea is I can bring this. I think I need to bring you over more. So bends in that way. Whoop. Still want you to kind of keep a squarish end. We just need you to start a little different. Now we made it worse. Yeah, that's where a lot of like where if I watch shows or whatnot too that are based on other media sources. I remember the Full Metal Alchemist way back in the day when the first season came out. It was done before the manga was finished, so the author never actually finished the work. It was super popular, so they wanted to make the show off of it and to capitalize on things. That's fine. I remember a lot of the complaints were, "Oh, it's not good because," or I think it was 5 years later, Brotherhood came out, which the manga had finished, and they at that point were like, "Okay, we're going to show the real story, how it all kind of went together, and this is like the official one." I remember discussions people are having online, where, "Oh, but Brotherhood is so much better because it follows the manga," and I'm like, well. It's good in its own right. It's not good just because it follows the original. It's good because it did things right. Whether or not something follows an original doesn't really make a difference. I mean, James Bond is like the other one. It's like Ian Fleming may have had his own character in there, but throughout the course of the 20 whatever films they're up to at this point, he's he's had. Like I was trying to see if that was going to look like something decent. It doesn't. He's had so many kind of moderations and different roles and different people playing it that it's kind of become its own thing. It's one movie isn't better than the other because it's based off of the original artwork, the original stories or whatnot. I could care less about that part. If something can stand on its own, that's the part that matters. So if I'm doing these models, I should say they are based off of like the main characters that I want them to be based off of, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look 100%. This is it. I'm going to do what I can to make that. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to. I'm not super annoyed or whatever if it doesn't quite work out that way. If I see something that can be changed for the better, I'm not opposed to doing that because it's like that. It's a starting point. Now that might be masking my own inability to get something to look right. So wink, wink, nod, nod. Oh yeah, I did this. I made this change for artistic reasons. Mm-hmm. Nice little wink to camera right there. But no, as long as this looks good in the end, that is the part that's going to trump anything else. Trying to get a little bit of detail on the back of the hand. Although you're not even going to see the back hand, you're going to see the front of the hand for sure. You're not really going to see the back. That's it. That finger just needs to go in a little bit more because we need to give the thumb some kind of space to be a thumb and to kind of have a little definition to it. Okay, so we're getting there on that. And we're starting to look a little, hopefully when I pop this on, a little more in line with the other one. So that if I put you up here, we're no longer a gigantor hand on that. Or at least now we're a little more balanced than we were before, which is good. Balance is nice on this. Okay. So really, outside of a lot of touch-ups on that, we have the prong part that comes out. I need to hollow out the back. So, and then once the prong part comes out, there are some more detailing things I can do on this, such as we have these get that little detail. Oh, we're going to have some touching up on these things to make them feel metal and not all wobbly like. But that will very likely be done off camera right before the next hardening. Okay, so we have that. So now what I did last time on this, I added one more layer to the outside of that. And I did that with a much thinner, I think I went down to like a 4 or something on this guy. Did I go far enough? So how about I roll you in half and I send you through here again. So you can actually be long enough to do what I want you to do. Would be good if we're long enough. Not good when we're not long enough. Problems happen when we're not long enough. Okay, should have all done this in one go, but I didn't. So so we want to, I want something that you can see. So let's get that kind of straight. We want about a 1/4 inch, so we're probably something like that. Bam! Look at that. We got ourselves our 1/4 inch. Bring it around, bring it around, bring it around. And boop. And actually that being slightly skinnier saves myself a little bit of work because I need to go and kind of do this along the side, but a lot of that's kind of already done because the piece I just put in is just a hair skinnier than what was already here. Also, don't need that one. I want this guy. Am I kind of on camera? Maybe. Can I pretend to be on camera for one of these segments? I, ever since I started these hands, I don't know. I feel like I'm never on the screen for you guys. And I'm feeling really bad about that. I don't know what's happening, but I just like cannot get myself centered on any of these shots. And it's bad. I feel bad. You feel bad. You can't see anything. I appreciate you still tuning in for that, but someday we're going to get better. At least I think once we start getting to the jacket part again, I can kind of focus the camera in one place, and that should be it, and life will be good. But unfortunately, I'm not quite there yet. We're getting close. We are getting close. We're actually not that far from being finished, to be honest, all things considered. I said legs, the main blocking out is one major phase. It just takes a long time. Legs are a major phase that takes a long time. And these hands and arms are a major phase that takes a long time. Everything else is generally like a session or two. Any additional element kind of can knock itself out. But these are really the three things, and we're just about through part 3 of those three things that just always seem to take a long time to do. That said, hair is always kind of the question mark on me because I always feel like I go into it going, I have no idea what I'm doing. And generally speaking, I definitely have my own style on it, that's for sure. I don't think anybody does it quite the same way I do. But it does seem to work in the end. So I'm okay with that. Even if I have my own thing going, as long as it works and it looks fine in the end, that's really what matters. As long as the client is happy, and in this case, I'm the client right now. Nobody's left any comments on any of these sessions yet, going, "What are you doing? That's terrible." So I guess you're just kind of going to the flow right now. So, yay on that. Someday it's going to happen. Somebody's going to pop up and go, "What? Ding dong, why are you doing that? Don't do it that way. You're doing it wrong." And I'll have no comeback for it because they're probably correct. Because again, I've had zero training going into this. I just kind of wing things as I go and learn as I go. So as long as I'm doing like a new kind of session or new kind of section or something I'm not used to doing on any given model, I'm constantly then building the base of knowledge that I have going towards the future. So that's the important part. And that is kind of what I want. Okay, so what time are we at? So what I do need to do is we need to carve out this bottom. And I kind of want to do it very gently, because I don't want to be squishing all this stuff that I already have, which is nice and good and happy. So we want to just very kind of gently get some of this out. Now I don't need to go deep. That's one thing I don't need. I don't need to go super deep on this. But I do need enough that when it goes in, it's going to hide the seam that's going to be created between this and the other. And this we didn't have to do on the other arm, so new content. tell I'm not talking much, which means I'm probably concentrating at least a little bit. Come on, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. I feel like I'm squishing and doing all kinds of bad things to this at the moment, but I'm trying not to, but I have a feeling. Okay, that's not a bad start. I want to go a little deeper than that, though. But I don't think that's a terrible start to it. Okay, there we go. That's not bad. And we are just about out of time. At least this is going to give us a little bit. I want this to go in deeper. Because again, I'm going to have the fabric, I'm going to make the fabric on here stick out a little bit. It's going to kind of stick into this, and that's going to keep this from twisting as we go. So I just need that being a little deeper than it needs to be, just to kind of account for all this. And we're going to have a whole lot of kind of little touch-up things and whatnot coming up in the next session. So next session is probably going to be, I'm going to finish off the prongs on here, do some kind of light touch-ups on this, and then maybe just put it off to the side. And then I'll probably, if nothing else, maybe start on the jacket on this side and kind of have it come in. I can harden this then off camera, and then the next session, the one after that, I can then kind of put you back on, and we can actually really start doing, really get into as much of that jacket as I can get to. Let me just smooth you out. And let's see, the real trick is don't lose sight of the hole that I have there. Let's get the head back on. That quality head. And there we have it. We have much more detailed out arms on Bang. He's definitely starting to come together. He's a lot more balanced. Remember, this arm looked absolutely gigantic before. It now looks like it kind of fits in size with the rest. And I think it's coming out okay. I think it's starting to come out a little okay. So that's where we are right now. That's what we're going to do next time. And until then, I've got a half marathon distance practice I want to go ahead and do before it gets too bad outside, because I think the rain stuff is done. So I may come back and do one more session this evening, or I might go back and do it tomorrow. Either way, it's not going to go live for another week. So I caught up a little bit to where I was before, so I'm happy with that. But until next time, enjoy.